Welcome back to Roto Moto. My name is Donnie, and in this video, I will cover 5 riders I want you to look at when making your PulpMX fantasy picks for Unadilla, tips for picking FFL, the weather report, race day schedule, and an early look at what my team could be come Saturday. But first, let's take a moment to recap what went down at Washougal 2-3 weekends ago. I have no idea why or how, but the player count was actually up for Washougal for the first time all season. 300 extra players set up their lineup, about 200 of those in the championship league. My best guess is that more people were able to set their lineup with the West Coast starting time. The perfect team was on the lower side at just 604, but the popular team was way up at a season high of 463, about 70 points higher than the season average popular team. FFL picks were up in both classes, and with class leader Justin Cooper taking another one, most people got that one right. The 450 picks were not so lucky, just one of every 14 bringing home those 15 points. With almost 5,000 championship players, the median championship player scored 430, meaning that if you scored 431 or more, you did better than half of the paying field. All-star selections were down to a season low 2.37, which likely led to the unusually high scores, and 15 riders from each class managed to score double points in both motos. An unusually low number of riders that failed to score double in both, led unfortunately by 2 of the most popular riders in the pulp sphere. This was a very favorable weekend with not a lot of bad picks, so I hope you were one of the ones that had a good one. Just like me, I was one of the ones, my second best of the season with 523, just missing the top 100 in the Champ League, in part from Derek Kelly's perfect score and opting to pass on a 450 FFL. It hurts a little to see Marchbanks leave so many points on the table, but I really can't be mad about flirting with the top 100 here. The Roto Moto League was dominated this week by a new face. B Mac nailed most of the heavy hitters, locked in 2 perfect All-Stars, and was thwarted only by Sipes' disappointing second moto experience and that Roxon FFL pick. For the second time in 3 weeks, Fajita Chocodile sits on top of the season with 3,121 points, good for 42nd in the entire championship, but the race is close with 3 other players sitting within 20 points, so it is still anyone's championship. Some huge movement on the ins and outs. 3 All-Stars will miss the round, really hampering your choices there, with Colt Nichols taking the weekend off to recover from a Washougal incident, and Troy Lee Gas having a terrible couple weeks, as they will be missing both Justin Barcia and Michael Mosman under the tent, leaving Pierce Brown as the lone TLD bike on the team. Seth Hamaker makes his long-awaited return after pulling out of the series after just 1 round, and a few high-profile amateurs make their debut this week after their Loretta Lynn triumphs. Levi Kitchen looks to build on his 12th place debut at Redbud, and Preston Kilroy makes his 2021 debut for the Barek Suzuki, as well as a few other names on the entry list. Those fan favorites that burned everyone last week won't have the chance this time, with Fast Freddy Noren and Caddy Wampus Alex Race sitting this one out with injury concerns. Be sure to confirm that a rider is on the cheat sheets before putting them on your team, and for an even easier time, you can check a little box when selecting your team that says only show riders in AMA qualifying results to, you guessed it, only show guys that have put down a lap time. It will still show guys that could have crashed out during qualifying or missed for other reasons, but hey, it's better than nothing. All right, on to your picks for the 2021 Unadilla National. I have 3 guys to target, 1 to avoid, and a high handicap guy to look at for you gamblers out there, starting with the little class and working our way up. With 2 All-Stars missing, and it's likely you only have 5 options here, and with those 2 contenders out, that leaves a lot of room for the higher handicap All-Stars. So here I'm thinking Hunter Lawrence. I've been critical of the older brother this season, but I think he's starting to put it together, finishing in the top 5 in 7 of his last 8 motos, and a 4 handicap is just too generous, especially with those 2 contenders missing this one. If you had Hunter last week, I think his brother could also be a good value here. Honestly, there isn't really a bad pick in this bunch of All-Stars. If we're looking double points in the 250 class, I think the money is on Ty Masterpole. The privateer has a lofty 7 handicap, something he has capitalized on in 8 of his last 9 motos. That 9th one, by the way, he was battling the kind of virus that makes you leak out of both ends, if you know what I mean, so I'm giving him a free pass there. He did manage to score points in the first moto, even ill, which is ridiculous to think about. He skipped Washougal and had the 2-week break to get back in shape, and I think he'll be primed for a bid weekend should he be feeling well enough to line up. The rider I want you to skip this week is 450 All-Star. Let's take a moment to just stay away from Eli Talmak. Sure, he finally looks like the Eli that we've seen dominate most of the past 4 seasons, but a 1 handicap is just too low for a guy that's only been on the podium 4 of his last 6 motos and has an average finish of 5th with no DNFs. And with Justin Barcia missing, that's 1 extra spot for all of those higher handicap choices to jump up, and there's just too much value up there to consider over Eli's 1. A 450 selection that is a no-brainer here, as Cody Shock has a massive 8 handicap thanks to 4 consecutive DNFs that you can 100% say were not his fault. Those 4 DNFs raised his average finish from a 15.8 to 20.6, leading to this high handicap. Remember, this is a guy that went 13-12 at Redbud and managed a top 10 moto finish at Fox Raceway last year. Hopefully the 2 weeks off gave Michael Lindsay ample time to work out the gremlins in his 450. The Pirelli Tire high handicap hero of the round, given to a rider with a handicap of 10 or more that I think has a realistic chance to score massive points this weekend if you're the type of person that likes to sweat out 2 30-minute motos for a big payout. This week marks the return of another PulpSphere favorite, and I expect big things from him. Clayson will line up for his 3rd outdoor of the season with a very, very generous 15 handicap. How generous? Well, he has finished in the top 25 in all 4 motos he's lined up for this season and has finished as high as 16th. That's 1 in 4 motos that a 15 would have given him a perfect 50. And word on the street is that he really likes this track. 2021 has been such a great year for a great guy, and I expect to see the Cade renaissance continue this week as his Pirelli Scorpions shred that New York turf. The FFL picture stays exactly the same in the 250s. It's Justin Cooper or bust, as he has 8 in 14 motos, the only guy with more than 2. Don't get cute here. Either take the easy points or just abstain if that's your kind of thing. The 450 is such a mess as ever. Roxon still leads the way with 5, and Barcia and AC out, and that's 2 great starters out of the picture. But Ferrandis, someone who is notoriously not a great starter, has 2 as well as his teammate Aaron Plessinger. Add in the fact that Cooper Webb has the best average start in the class despite him failing to have even a single FFL, and it just feels like throwing darts. Kenny went 1-1 when we raced here last in 2019, so I think he's the favorite. I'm just not confident enough in anyone to put them on my team. The weather could prove interesting in New York this weekend. All of the times that the riders will spend on the track should be dry and cool, with a high of just 72 at the start of the second motos. But there is a 20 to 35% chance of rain every single hour overnight, so the track could end up just a bit thicker than usual. I'm sure the track crew will make adjustments to level it out, but it is just a slight wrinkle to throw in there. After this single West Coast round, we go back to the East Coast normal schedule. Qualifying begins at 10 a.m., and you can catch all of the action on the Peacock app. Patreon supporters will enjoy the enhanced cheat sheet immediately following each qualifying session, and the more simple public cheat sheet will be available on Twitter and Instagram around noon, about an hour before the gates drop. Before I show you my early team for Unadilla, I just want to take a moment to talk about this video's sponsor. I'm excited to announce that Pirelli Tire is back with Roto Moto for another 2021 weekend. Pirelli remains dedicated to the grassroots part of the sport with their "We sell what we race, and we race what we sell" motto, providing you access to the very same Scorpion MX tires used by their professional racing teams, including world champions such as Tim Geiser and Jeffrey Hurlings, as well as Chaparral Honda's Carson Mumford, who hooked up his Pirelli Scorpions straight out of the gate, leading the pack all the way to his first ever Pro Motocross Whole Shot and FFL. This approach has allowed Pirelli to place its research and development focus on motocross, benefiting the everyday rider when they take it to their local racetrack. My Thursday night team looks like this. I have HRC Honda's Hunter Lawrence at a 4 handicap, looking to capitalize on the absence of Colt Nichols and Michael Mosman. I have Pierce Brown at a 1 after his blistering Washougal performance. I'm looking for a healthy rebound from Ty Masterpool to make the most of his 7 handicap, and I have Seth Hamaker penciled in as my 4th spot. I do have a little bit of concern about his injury, and if he looks anything less than stellar in qualifying, I'm likely to dump him for a higher handicap option to pad my team. My 450 team is all big handicaps. Give me Christian Craig at that 8. CC has only failed to finish in the top 10 3 motos this season, and with a worst of 13, I like his odds. Cody Shock also at an 8. Not quite a native, but Unadilla is just a 4-hour drive from his hometown. The Summer of Rodbell Revenge Tour is getting back on track, hoping for a handicap boost bounce back at a 10. And rounding out my squad currently is Ryan Surratt's 12 handicap, which is a low-risk, high handicap pick with a good amount of upside. Don't forget to follow at RotoMoto on Twitter and Instagram for qualifying insights, injury updates, stats, and banter as the race goes on, and of course those ever important fantasy cheat sheets. And if you want even more help making your picks, be sure to check out and subscribe to RotoMoto on Patreon for access to the enhanced cheat sheets chock full of more data than you can imagine to help you make those huge point picks. And I want to give a shout out to the current Patreon supporters. This channel is made possible by good people like first-time subscriber Jack of Hearts, as well as longtime supporters Dave S., Austin T., and Nathan S. These guys really carry the conversation in our Discord server, and I'm forever grateful for their contributions and support. Thanks as always for watching RotoMoto. My name is Donnie. I will see you on race day.